Campbell Soups present the Campbell Playhouse. Orson Welles, producer.
Good evening. I'm Adventure Alex. There are clearly a number of ways in which wildlife conservation could be introduced. Myself, I am most struck by the happy fortune that enables us, on this festive eve, to present the primate order tree. When Chucky Darwin first presented his little story to the world almost 160 years ago, he found an instant response in the hearts of people everywhere who saw in it what it means to be human. Wildlife, as nature documentaries film it, have by common consent largely focused on the classics, the same animal faces we all know and love.
Recently, members of the theWildProject read a Science Daily article that says research in zoo animals is skewed towards the more popular species.
So we're out here testing that theory in Sonoma Square. We brought our friend Darwin out and about. We're going to see how many people actually know what he is. You think people are going to get it?
I think less than 1% of people are going to be able to identify this animal.
That sounds about right. You guys have any idea on what kind of species this might be?
No. Lemur?
Lemur's a very good guess.
Do you know what this animal is?
No. Is it Old World or New World?
I watch so much David Attenborough. I should know this.
It's a lemur.
A sugar glider?
I think it's a possum.
Is it a mink?
Lemur?
I said ferret, but now
Any other guess? So, do you know what this animal is? I didn't think so.
He's adorable. Do you have any guesses on what he might be?
A lemur.
Oh, here's a group. Okay, maybe we can ask them.
He likes the warmth right now.
He's
Yeah.
known Jeff since he was 6 weeks old. He's 3 now.
Hello.
3 years old. You're so close. Do you have a guess?
A meerkat.
Oh my gosh. I have no idea what he is.
Emma, do you know what this animal is?
No.
It's from Africa. They have an exhibit at the Houston Zoo with just these
We're phoning a
animals.
friend.
Look at him. Look, do they like
He's
to
shy.
burrow or something?
So have you heard of something called a galago before?
No.
Have you guys heard of a galago?
Oh boy, I would never have guessed that.
No.
Ever.
Have you ever heard of a bush baby or a galago?
No.
So they are a relative of the lemur. They come from sub-Saharan
lemur,
Africa.
Have you guys heard of a galago before?
Never.
Galago.
Tell me.
Have you guys heard of something called a galago or galago?
No.
Have anything called a galago?
I have not.
Galago?
No.
Galago? Have you heard of something called a galago or a galago?
No.
So, to no one's surprise, no one guessed galago. And we asked a lot of people.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in the program, it's my custom, as you know, to present to you with a few words of introduction. Our guest of the evening. To introduce tonight's guest to the Campbell Playhouse audience, or to any American audience, is an extravagant and superfluous procedure. For if ever a professor has won herself a lasting place in the hearts of her fellow anthropologists through years of unsparing and inspiring research, that professor is Dr. Karin Jaffe.
It is so nice to meet you. you finally.
Nice to meet you too.
We have a really good introduction earlier, but we wanted to ask you some questions specifically about strepsirrhine because we feel that they're, as far as primates go, they're really underrepresented. You don't see a lot of them in zoos besides lemurs. And because of that, people don't really have any connection towards this animal. So how are they connected to us?
Right, that's a great point. So there are over 200 species and subspecies of primate. Primates are a group of animals that share some characteristics. Forward-facing eyes, 5 fingers and toes, opposable thumbs, nails instead of claws, larger brains for body size than other animals. So a whole suite of characteristics that you have to possess in order to be classified as a primate. Okay, so primates are subdivided, when we talk about taxonomy, subdivided the order primate into 2 suborders. So haplorhines include what you're talking about, which is most of the primates that we're familiar with that we see. And then the strepsirrhines, which includes the bush babies or galagos, the lemurs of Madagascar, lorises of Southeast Asia. The strepsirrhines tend not to look as what we kind of think as traditional primates, and that is because they're actually much more primitive.
So they've been around longer.
They've been around longer. They're the earliest primates. When we say primitive, it means they possess traits that we think are most similar to the earliest primates.
One of the things that people like to point out is they're very similar in a lot of ways to fruit bats, and so we share a lot of characteristics with them as well. I always think that's really kind of an interesting evolutionary point. So what are your thoughts sort of on those?
So bats are closely related to primates, and their Arconta is actually very closely related to primates, and there was for a while some confusion about what the relationship was. So we now know they're obviously not primates, but they are closely related, and tree shoes are closely related to primates as well, but they're not primates, and they don't have, for example, like opposable thumbs. So strepsirrhines have retained some very primitive characteristics that are primitive for mammals. So that includes the fact that since strepsirrhines are almost entirely nocturnal, they have this reflecting layer on the back of their eye we call the tapetum lucidum. Strepsirrhines are actually use a lot of scent marking in their communication with other members of their group or their species. Higher primates, not so much. There are 2 traits that are derived for strepsirrhines, which means they evolved just in strepsirrhines and so are unique to strepsirrhines. And that we were talking about earlier is the grooming claw. So on the second digit of every foot is basically a nail that is in the form of a claw that helps them with grooming. And then the dental cone, which is those lower teeth, the incisors on the lower jaw that have kind of fused together and stick out a little bit. And that also helps with grooming.
And you were saying when you were out in the field in Africa that you actually had the opportunity to find these guys, and you did that by eye shine.
Yeah, that's how you see them. You shine a flashlight or your car, just accidentally if you're not even looking for them, and their eyes will light up.
Good night to you, Mr. Darwin. Thank you, sir, and a Merry Christmas to you. Ladies and gentlemen, next Sunday night, and by that we mean eventually, we're happy to announce our own version of a great and truly American story by a great American novelist, Moon Valley Massacre, by Zane Grey. Against a background of Mr. Zane's own imagination, it tells a stirring tale of a band of renegade lawmen on the trail of mountain lion poachers in the 1890s. Be sure not to miss a minute of this exciting tale. From all of us to all of you, good night, and a happy St. Patrick's Day. Are we done here?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, good. All right, that was fun.
All right. So how about some ice cream?
It's too cold. It's Christmas time.
It's 80 degrees in March.
Hey, I appreciate your staying 6 feet away.
Absolutely. It's, really all I can do at this point.
Yeah, desperate times, desperate measures.
Yeah.
Just kind of a bummer St. Patrick's Day was canceled, you know?
No, it's one of your favorite holidays.
Right? Because the whole point is you cook good food, you drink, you hang out with friends.
It's great.
Yeah. But, it's for the best. Public interest, public health.
It is. And not just for, all the humans, but for things like Darwin.
Right, yeah. All kinds of primates can pass disease to each other, so Darwin's probably not going to be in any of our segments for quite a while here.
It's a bummer,
Yeah,
but cheers to things getting better.
absolutely.